The alarm bells echoed through the Mars monitoring station as Lieutenant Minho Park stared at his screen in disbelief. The numbers made no sense. Massive objects were appearing near Neptune, but his instruments showed nothing had been there just minutes before. "Commander Kim," he called out, his voice shaking slightly. "Something is very wrong here." Jiwon Kim floated over in the low gravity, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor. She had been running this deep space watch station for 3 years and had never seen readings like these. The gravitational sensors were going crazy, showing distortions that should only happen near black holes or neutron stars. "Are the sensors broken?" she asked, but even as she spoke, she knew they were not. All backup systems showed the same impossible data. Within 2 hours, the visual confirmation came through the long-range telescopes. 17 massive ships hung in space near Neptune like silent giants. Each vessel was the size of a small moon, made of what looked like living crystal that bent starlight around it in strange patterns. They had appeared without any warning, without any of the energy signatures that should come with faster-than-light travel. Back on Earth, the emergency sirens wailed across every major city. Admiral Hyunwoo Lee stood in the underground command center beneath Seoul, watching satellite feeds that showed the alien fleet in perfect formation. The ships did not move, did not send signals, and did not respond to anything humans tried to do. Dr. Somin Choi adjusted her thick glasses as she studied the energy readings from her computer. She was Earth's best expert on unknown phenomena, but these ships broke every rule of physics she knew. "They are not using any kind of engine we can understand," she reported quietly. "Yet they maintain perfect position relative to each other. Have they tried to talk to us?" Admiral Lee asked. Communications Officer Jae-hyun Yu shook his head. "We have sent messages on every radio frequency we know. We tried mathematics, music, even pictures. Nothing works. They act like we do not exist." In space stations around Earth, astronomers worked frantically to learn more about the visitors. The ships were beautiful in a terrifying way, their crystal surfaces reflecting stars that seemed to come from places that did not exist. Some observers reported that looking directly at the vessels made their eyes water, as if the human brain could not properly process what it was seeing. Captain Daehyun Seo commanded the military space station between Earth and Luna. His crew of 20 had trained for first contact scenarios, but nothing had prepared them for this. The alien ships were so large that Earth's entire nuclear arsenal would barely scratch their surface. Worse, the vessels seemed to exist partially outside normal space, flickering in and out of reality like ghosts. "Sir," reported his sensor operator, Specialist Yoonji Han, "I am detecting some kind of scanning activity. Very faint, but it is definitely directed at our solar system. The scans were unlike anything humans had ever created. They seemed to penetrate matter itself, analyzing not just the surface of planets and moons, but their internal structure, their history, even their potential for future development. Earth itself was being examined like a specimen under a microscope." Dr. Won Ho-jung worked in the emergency xenobiology lab that had been set up beneath Geneva. His team was trying to understand the alien behavior patterns. His assistant, Nayeon Lim, had been collecting data from observatories worldwide, looking for any clue about what the visitors wanted. "Look at this pattern," she said, showing him a holographic display. "They are not just looking at us randomly. This is systematic, professional, like engineers studying a building before they decide what to do with it." The thought sent chills through everyone who heard it. These were not explorers or diplomats. They were evaluators, and Earth was being evaluated for some unknown purpose. In Tokyo, physicist Kyung-min An made an even more disturbing discovery. He had been analyzing the scanning patterns when he noticed something that made his blood run cold. "They are not just studying our planet," he told his colleague Yuna Park. "They are calculating how to take it apart." The evidence was clear in the mathematical patterns of the alien scans. Every major mineral deposit, every ocean, every mountain range was being analyzed for extraction potential. The visitors were not interested in contact or trade. They were interested in resources. As news of this discovery spread through the world's governments, panic began to set in. Humanity faced visitors with technology so advanced that their ships seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics. The aliens showed no interest in communication and appeared to view Earth as nothing more than raw materials waiting to be harvested. The crystal ships continued their silent survey, patient as death itself. They had all the time in the universe, and humanity had no way to stop them. Earth's military forces began mobilizing, but everyone knew it was hopeless. How do you fight an enemy that can appear and disappear at will, whose ships are larger than cities, and who treat your entire world like a mining site? The waiting began. 17 alien vessels hung in space, beautiful and terrible, while 7 billion humans held their breath and wondered if they were about to witness the end of everything they had ever known. 3 days passed in terrible silence before the alien ships finally moved. Captain Daehyun Seo watched from his command station as thin beams of blue light shot out from the crystal vessels, sweeping across the surface of Luna like searchlights. The beams moved with perfect precision, examining every crater and mountain on the moon's surface. "They are mapping everything," reported sensor specialist Yoon Ji-han from her position. "Every rock, every piece of metal we left behind, even the footprints from the old Apollo missions. Nothing is too small for them to study." The scanning beams were unlike anything humans had ever seen. They seemed to see through solid matter, revealing the internal structure of moons and asteroids. When the beams touched Earth's satellites, the machine simply stopped working for a few seconds, then resumed as if nothing had happened. Dr. Won Ho-jung paced back and forth in his underground laboratory beneath Geneva. His team had been watching the alien behavior for 72 hours straight, trying to understand what the visitors were doing. His assistant, Nayeon Lim, had compiled data from every observatory on Earth and in space. "Look at this pattern," she said, projecting a three-dimensional map in the air. "They start with the outer planets, then work their way inward. They spend exactly the same amount of time on each object, regardless of size. This is not exploration, this is inventory." The word made everyone in the room go quiet. Inventory meant the aliens were counting Earth's resources like items in a warehouse. But for what purpose? The answer began to emerge when smaller ships detached from the main fleet. These scout vessels were different from their massive motherships. They looked like teardrops made of liquid metal, each one about the size of a city bus. What made them truly frightening was how they moved through space by simply appearing and disappearing. Kyungmin An was working in his laboratory in Tokyo when the first scout ship materialized directly above the city. He ran to the window and saw the impossible sight of an alien vessel hanging motionless above the skyscrapers, its surface reflecting the city lights in patterns that hurt to look at. "It just appeared," he told his colleague Unipark over the phone. "No energy buildup, no movement through space. One second the sky was empty, the next second it was there." Similar reports came from every major city on Earth. The scout ships appeared over New York, London, Moscow, Beijing, and dozens of other population centers. They stayed for exactly 37 minutes each time, then vanished as suddenly as they had arrived. The alien scouts were clearly studying human civilization, but they did so with the cold efficiency of scientists examining bacteria. They showed no interest in making contact even when military jets approached them. The human aircraft simply passed through empty air where the alien ships had been moments before. Major Sunwoo Bae led the emergency response team in Seoul. His job was to coordinate Earth's military response to the alien presence. But what could any human weapon do against technology that existed partially outside normal reality? "They are treating us like we do not matter," he reported to Admiral Hyunwoo Lee. "They study our cities the same way they study our mountains. We might as well be rocks to them." The most disturbing discovery came from Dr. Somin Choi's analysis of the scanning patterns. She had been working without sleep for days, trying to understand what the aliens were looking for. When she finally figured it out, she almost wished she had not. "They are not just mapping our planet," she announced to the Emergency Council. "They are calculating optimal extraction points. Look at these readings from the Pacific Ocean. They have identified every mineral deposit on the ocean floor, every oil reserve, every metal ore, every source of rare earth elements. The evidence was overwhelming. The alien scans focused heavily on areas rich in resources. They paid special attention to Earth's core, its magnetic field, and its gravitational properties. Most frightening of all, they seemed particularly interested in Earth's water and atmosphere. Communications Officer Jae-hyun Yu made another chilling discovery. "I have been monitoring radio frequencies around the alien ships," he reported. "There is definitely communication happening between them, but it is in a format we cannot understand. However, I did notice something. The communication increases dramatically whenever they finish scanning a new area." The implication was clear. The scouts were reporting their findings back to the main fleet, and the main fleet was making decisions based on that information. Earth was being evaluated, and humanity had no idea what the criteria were or what the consequences of failing might be. As the fourth day began, the alien assessment entered its final phase. The scout ships returned to their motherships, and the crystal vessels began to move for the first time since their arrival. They arranged themselves in a new formation, creating a perfect geometric pattern that surrounded Earth's solar system. Dr. Won Ho-jung watched the repositioning with growing dread. "They have finished their survey," he told his team. "Now they are preparing for the next phase." Nobody wanted to ask what the next phase might be. The aliens had studied Earth like miners, examining a potential dig site. They had cataloged humanity's cities, resources, and technology with the same cold interest they showed for lifeless asteroids. The crystal ships hung in their new positions, beautiful and terrible, while Earth waited to learn its fate. The breakthrough came from the most unexpected place. Seojun Kwan worked in a converted subway tunnel beneath Busan, surrounded by computers and electronic equipment that hummed constantly in the underground darkness. He was a quantum cryptographer, which meant he specialized in breaking codes that others thought were impossible to crack. For 6 days, he had been listening to the strange background noise that appeared whenever the alien ships were nearby. Most people thought it was just random static, but Seojun noticed patterns that others missed. The noise was not random at all. It was compressed data being transmitted between the crystal vessels. "Dr. Oh," he called to his colleague through the video screen, "I think I have found something important." Dr. Heian Oh was working in a similar, underground facility in Tokyo. She was a mathematician who specialized in alien communication theory, though until now her work had been purely theoretical. "What kind of patterns are you seeing?" she asked. "The signals repeat every 47 minutes, Seojun explained, showing her his computer screens. "But each repetition has small changes. It looks like they are updating each other with new information as they complete their scans." Working together across the video link, they began the slow process of breaking down the alien communications. It was like trying to solve a puzzle where they did not know what the final picture was supposed to look like. They worked for 3 days straight, surviving on coffee and the growing fear that they were running out of time. The first word they decoded made their blood run cold. It was a concept that translated roughly to resource extraction protocol. The second phrase was even worse: biomass conversion efficiency. By the 4th day, they had decoded enough to understand the horrible truth. "They are not explorers," Dr. O whispered during their late-night video call. "They are industrial harvesters. Earth is not a planet to them, it is a mining site." The decoded messages revealed that the aliens called themselves the Architects. They were an ancient civilization that traveled between star systems, harvesting entire worlds to fuel massive construction projects. They built things on a scale that humans could barely imagine: artificial stars, ring worlds, structures that spanned entire solar systems. Major Sun Woo Bei received the decoded intelligence report while standing in the emergency command center. He read it twice, hoping he had misunderstood something. But the message was clear. Earth had been selected for complete planetary processing, which meant the aliens planned to take apart the entire planet piece by piece. "How long do we have?" asked Admiral Hyunwoo Lee. "According to their timeline, processing will begin once they finish their final assessment," Major Bei replied. "That could be days or weeks, we do not know." But then something unexpected happened. The alien communications changed. New phrases began appearing in their transmissions. Words that translated to anomalous species, and irregular development patterns. The architects were talking about humanity, and they seemed confused by what they were finding. Captain Daehyun Seo volunteered to lead a desperate mission to get closer to the alien fleet. His ship, the Defiance, was Earth's most advanced stealth vessel, designed to be invisible to enemy sensors. It was humanity's only chance to gather more intelligence about their mysterious visitors. "This is probably a suicide mission," he told his crew before they launched. His pilot, Minji Kang, just smiled grimly. "Then we better make it count," she replied. Intelligence Officer Taeyong Im used every trick of electronic warfare to keep them hidden as they approached the alien formation. The crystal ships were even more impressive up close, their surfaces seeming to exist in more dimensions than human eyes could properly see. "We are receiving massive amounts of data," reported Dr. Yujin Ryu, the mission's xenolinguist. "Their communication traffic has increased dramatically. Something has changed their normal procedures. What they discovered changed everything humanity thought they knew about their situation." The architects had encountered thousands of intelligent species during their travels across the galaxy. Most civilizations fell into predictable categories: warrior species, hive minds, technological stagnants, or peaceful primitives. But humanity did not fit any of their established patterns. "They are surprised by our technological development speed," Dr. Ryu explained as she decoded the alien discussions. "Most species take millions of years to develop, from basic tools to space travel. We did it in 10,000 years. They have never seen anything like it." The aliens were also confused by human behavior during the crisis. Instead of panicking or surrendering, humans had begun working together across all national boundaries. Information was being shared freely between countries that had been enemies just weeks before. The architects had expected Earth's civilization to collapse under the pressure of their presence, but instead, humanity was becoming more unified. "Processing authorization has been suspended," Dr. Ryu translated from the latest alien transmissions. "They want to study us further before making a final decision." The Defiance returned to Earth with this crucial intelligence. Humanity had bought itself time, but not through military strength or diplomatic negotiation. They had earned a reprieve simply by being so different from other species that the architects wanted to understand them better. In their crystal ships, the ancient aliens debated what to do with this unusual world. Earth was rich in resources and ripe for harvesting, but its inhabitants were proving to be far more interesting than expected. For the first time in centuries, the architects were faced with a decision that their standard procedures did not cover. The evaluation would continue, but now humanity knew they were being tested for something more than just their mineral wealth. The first test began without any warning on a Tuesday morning. Professor Dongyun Shin was drinking coffee in his Seoul laboratory when his cup suddenly became 3 times heavier. Across the city, gravity had increased by exactly 300% in a perfect circle 10 kilometers wide, affecting over 500,000 people. "This is not natural," he told his research team as they struggled to move in the heavy gravity field. "The boundary is too precise. Someone is doing this to us on purpose." Similar gravity anomalies appeared simultaneously in 12 major cities around the world. In New York, people could barely lift their arms. In London, cars could not drive up even the smallest hills. But in Tokyo, gravity had decreased so much that people floated if they jumped too hard. Dr. Soman Choi studied the patterns from her underground command center. "Each anomaly covers exactly the same area," she reported. "The gravitational changes follow mathematical formulas that are too perfect to be accidents. The aliens are testing us." The gravity tests lasted exactly 72 hours. Just as suddenly as they had begun, they ended. But before anyone could feel relief, the weather attacks started. Gayung Park was an engineer working in Mumbai when the temperature dropped 40 degrees in 10 minutes. Snow began falling in the tropical city while the humidity remained at 90%. It was impossible weather that should not exist. But there it was, creating chaos in the streets. "We need heating systems and we need them fast," she told her team. But all the normal heating equipment was designed for normal weather. They had to improvise with whatever they could find. Using car engines, kitchen stoves, and even old-fashioned fire barrels, Gayung's team created a network of heating stations throughout the affected area. They combined motorcycle engines with industrial fans to blow warm air through the subway tunnels, turning the underground into a refuge for thousands of people. In São Paulo, architect Min Jae-cho faced a different challenge. The gravity in his city kept changing every 6 hours, sometimes normal, sometimes light, sometimes crushing. Buildings were not designed for such variations. Concrete cracked, elevators failed, and structures began to collapse. We need shelters that can work in any gravity, he realized. Using shipping containers and flexible materials, he designed emergency housing that could adjust to changing conditions. The containers were connected by flexible tubes that compressed or expanded as gravity changed, while the living spaces used magnetic floors and lightweight furniture that could be secured quickly. The weather attacks escalated over the following weeks. Cities experienced impossible combinations of conditions: tropical heat with Arctic winds, rain that fell upward, fog that glowed in the dark. Each new challenge seemed designed to test human adaptability and problem-solving skills. Dr. Soyeon coordinated the global response from her hidden facility in the Swiss Alps. She had been chosen to lead the Emergency Science Council because of her work in crisis management. "Share everything," she broadcast to research teams worldwide. "Every solution, every innovation, every idea that works. They want to see how we think, so let us show them what humans can do." The sharing network that emerged was unlike anything in human history. Scientists in Brazil shared their solutions with engineers in Korea. Architects in Europe collaborated with mechanics in Africa. National boundaries became meaningless as humanity worked together to survive each new test. Jin-Soo Yang monitored alien communications from his post in Vancouver. He had learned to recognize the patterns in their transmissions, and what he was seeing amazed him. "Their chatter is increasing," he reported excitedly. "The volume of communication between their ships has tripled. I think we are doing something they did not expect." The tests became more complex. Entire cities found their electronics failing in specific patterns. Computers would work only if they were painted blue. Cars would start only if they were facing north. Power grids functioned only between certain hours of the day. But humans adapted to each new challenge with increasing creativity. When electronics failed, they used mechanical solutions. When power grids went down, they created independent energy, systems using everything from bicycle generators to solar panels made from mirrors and car batteries. The breakthrough came when the aliens introduced their most complex test yet. They created zones where the basic laws of physics seemed to work differently. In some areas, water flowed upward. In others, metals became transparent. Some regions had time that moved faster or slower than normal. Most species would have been paralyzed by such impossible conditions. But humans treated each new impossibility as just another engineering problem to solve. Youngmin Choi was working in one of the time distortion zones when he made a crucial observation. "They are not trying to kill us," he realized. "These tests have solutions. Difficult solutions, but solutions nonetheless. They want to see if we can find them." The pattern became clear. Each test was designed to challenge human intelligence, creativity, and cooperation. The aliens were not trying to destroy humanity. They were evaluating it. But the most surprising discovery came when humans began to exceed the aliens' expectations. The solutions they created were not just adequate, they were improvements on the original problems. When the architects created efficiency puzzles, humans found answers that were 300% better than the alien baseline calculations. The crystal ships began repositioning themselves again, and the volume of alien communications reached levels that made Jin-Soo Yang's equipment overload. Something important was happening in the alien fleet. The tests had revealed something about humanity that even the ancient architects had not expected to find. The final test came without any warning on a gray morning in October. Youngmin Choi was having breakfast in Seoul when the shimmering dome appeared over his city. Within minutes, similar energy barriers covered every major population center on Earth: New York, London, Tokyo, Mumbai, São Paulo, and dozens of others. The domes were beautiful but terrifying. They looked like soap bubbles made of starlight, but they were completely solid. Nothing could get in or out. Each city was now trapped in its own energy prison with whatever resources it had at that moment. "This is it," announced Dr. Soyan from her command center. "This is their final evaluation." Inside each dome, people discovered the same problem. Their city had been given a complex resource management puzzle that seemed impossible to solve. The energy barriers would only provide enough power for half the population. The water systems would only work for 3 days. Food supplies would last less than a week. Soo-hyun Park was trapped in the Busan Dome when she realized what the aliens were really testing. "They designed these problems for individual cities," she told her team. "They expect each dome to compete for survival against the others, but they do not understand humans very well." The breakthrough came when someone in the Tokyo Dome discovered that the energy barriers could not block quantum entanglement signals. The same quantum communication technology that Seo-jun Kwon had used to decode alien messages could be used to talk between the dome cities. "We can share information," reported Minji Kang from the Tokyo Dome. "Maybe we can share more than just information." What happened next surprised even the humans themselves. Instead of competing for survival, the cities began working together. Seoul shared its water purification designs with Mumbai. New York shared its energy conservation methods with São Paulo. London shared its food distribution systems with Tokyo. But the cooperation went deeper than just sharing ideas. The cities began to share actual resources through the quantum links. Using principles of quantum teleportation that human scientists had barely begun to understand, they found ways to transfer energy, water, and even raw materials between the domes. Ji-hoon Na was monitoring alien communications when the architect's chatter suddenly exploded into frantic activity. "They are talking very fast now," he reported. "I can only catch fragments, but they keep using words that translate to unprecedented and impossible behavior patterns." The humans were not just solving the resource problems, they were creating abundance. Each dome had been given enough resources for half its population to survive, but by working together, they were supporting everyone with resources left over. The alien observations became even more frantic when humans began improving the test itself. Engineers in the Mumbai Dome figured out how to make the energy barriers more efficient. Scientists in the London Dome discovered how to increase the power output of the alien technology by 40%. "They are calling us something new," Ji-hoon translated from the alien communications. The concept translates roughly to innovation multipliers. They have never seen a species that makes their technology work better than they designed it to. Admiral Chung-hee Bok stood in the emergency council chamber, watching reports from around the world. Every domed city was not just surviving but thriving. Humans had turned the alien test into an opportunity for global cooperation on a scale never before seen. "Sir," reported his aide, "we are getting reports that some cities are actually producing more resources than they started with." The aliens' efficiency calculations were apparently too conservative. The crystal ships began moving for the first time in weeks, but instead of preparing for attack, they were repositioning themselves into what looked like a welcoming formation. The ships spread out in a pattern that human mathematicians recognized as a symbol of respect in several alien languages. Dr. Aryam Ko was in the linguistics center when the new transmission came through. It was different from all the previous alien communications, clearer, stronger, and directed specifically at Earth rather than between the alien ships. "It is an official communication," she announced excitedly. "They are talking to us directly. For the first time." The message was complex, but its meaning was clear. The architects were canceling their plans to harvest Earth. Instead, they were offering humanity something that had never been offered to any other species: partnership in their galactic engineering projects. "Species demonstrates exceptional, collaborative problem-solving capabilities," Dr. Ko translated. "Planetary harvesting protocols canceled, initiating partnership evaluation for Galactic Engineering Consortium membership." The energy domes began to dissolve, but slowly, gently, giving people time to adjust. As the barriers faded, a new kind of communication began. not just between human cities, but between Earth and the crystal ships. The architects had spent thousands of years harvesting planets and converting civilizations into resources, but they had never encountered a species that could improve their technology while working together instead of competing against each other. Humanity had passed the ultimate test not through superior weapons or advanced technology, but through the simple act of cooperation. When faced with impossible challenges, humans did what they always did. They helped each other find solutions. The alien ships began transmitting detailed information about their galactic engineering projects. They needed partners who could think creatively and work together on problems that spanned entire star systems. They had found exactly what they were looking for on a small blue planet in a quiet corner of the galaxy. Earth's greatest export would not be minerals or energy, but something uniquely human: the ability to make any problem solvable through cooperation, creativity, and the stubborn refusal to give up on each other.